in the chamber. Our first item is approval of minutes of the March 17th, 2022, and the April 11th, 2022 minutes. They're in your packet. Any questions or concerns? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to accept. Okay, we have a motion by Lukens.
Second by Kathy.
Okay. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. Number 3, election of a vice chair. Any nominations for a vice chair?
I'll nominate Carol Lukens.
Okay. Do you accept? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay. Seeing none? All in favor of Alder Lukens, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And you are vice chair. Now I can be absent. Number 4, set regular meeting day and time. We usually meet the Thursday. We used to meet at 1:15, then we changed it to 4:15, and right before the end of last term, I asked to move it about 15 minutes to 4:45 due to my other obligations with my new position. So what is your pleasure, committee, about date and time? Is 4:45 okay? Is the Thursday okay? Any objections?
I just need to be out of here and on the bus by 6.
Do you think that will be a problem at any time?
I hope not anymore.
Do you think it'll be a problem? I mean, to keep it under an hour, about an hour?
Well, I think if we're conscious of the time constraints, yeah, I think that's quite possible.
Okay. Okay, so we will meet on 4:45
On the third Thursday?
on the third Thursday. Number 5 is set preferred method of receiving meeting materials. I believe, Greg,
Yep.
you've already done that, right?
Correct.
Okay, that has been meted out. Number 6, discussion and possible action on transit service for special events, Wausau Monk Festival and Art in the Park / Festival of Arts.
So I provided a kind of a long-winded description in my cover memo. The bottom line is we are struggling mightily with staffing. A third of our driver positions are now vacant, despite a continuous recruitment. And we have eliminated capacity at peak times on some routes by sending a single bus instead of 2, and that has caused some crowding. We are actually cutting some routes, school tripper routes on occasion, because we just don't have anybody to drive them. We have supervisors driving, including me. We are forcing drivers to work overtime on an ongoing basis, including on their off days. And morale is really taken a hit, I must say. We are struggling as a work unit to kind of keep it together and keeping all of the routes going. And so, you know, I look at all of the heroic things we've done so far just to maintain existing service. I really don't want to force folks to work in the summer. And the other part of this is we started providing special events service when we were fully staffed. And we were able to do that because we could redirect part-time hours. You know, we don't have school in the summer, and so we're able to accomplish a whole lot of things that we put off for the rest of the year, like cleaning buses, full interior scrub, and we paint and do landscaping work, all of those things. And we don't have part-timers anymore. We used to redirect their hours to the weekend, and they'd work the special event, and that's how they got their hours for the week. We don't have part-timers. And so last year, We asked for volunteers and for the Hmong Festival, and we had one volunteer, and we forced 7 others to work. And it's now full-time and it's overtime. So this is not, an inexpensive proposition anymore, and it really does affect our morale. So what I'm suggesting is that we pass on the Hmong Festival. And we had previously made a commitment to the Art Festival, but I'd really like to reevaluate that. If we started hiring today, we wouldn't have people trained before school starts. And the reason is our trainers are drivers, and it is very difficult to relieve them in order to do the training because we're to the last person all the time. And so this is not going to be solved very quickly. It's not going to be solved by the fall. And so I would really like to reevaluate special event service in general, and I would prefer not to do special events.
Comments from committee?
Yiling Zhang is here.
Okay. Would you like to speak to this, Mr. Zhang?
Yes, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Swayburne as well, too, and members of the commission. I do want to express that the transit definitely does help the Hmong American Center, especially with our Hmong Wausau Festival, tremendously. We have individuals, family members that, this is one of the events where members of the Southeast Asian community, especially the elders, are able to go out and interact with individuals. So not only is it helping our community economic development-wise, it brings in tourism, it brings in money, it brings in hotel stays, room tax, but it also is an opportunity for members of the Southeast Asian community to go out and interact. But in addition to that, they also get to be introduced to the transit system as well too, and be able to have access, understand how to use it. This is my thoughts. If the transit is going, if the commission is going to pass on the Hmong American Center, the Hmong Wausau Festival, I would ask for it to be equal as well too, and for all events during the summer to not have access to it as well too, just so that because. That's just my thoughts, but obviously I'm not going to force the committee or try the commission to do anything. I understand the concerns, and I'm always very appreciative of the support that we've received from the city of Wausau, and I'm always looking forward to partnering with the city of Wausau in any way, even with Metro Transit as well. So if there's any questions, I would gladly entertain them as well.
Any questions from Mr. Shaw? None? I just have a comment because we have kind of a number of new committee members. Late last term, we had to pass on the Wings Over Wausau event. And that got a little spacey, but we had to pass on that due to low staffing. We are not going to provide that service. I think it's the end of June. So we are running into a problem, like I said, with the new committee members. We are at a crisis point with drivers. I read this and I talk to Greg. I don't know how, we may lose the school contract as well. We don't have any drivers. And I know HR has been putting things out. We talked about bonuses with the union. We're trying different methods, and I think we're going to have to do a different tact, but I'm very concerned of our future of our transit system right now.
I am too, and I ride it every day, and I am very concerned. I talk to anybody about, do you know anybody that needs a job for driving bus? So I'm very concerned. I feel we should postpone all special events right now because of the morale and lack of drivers. Across the board, we should cancel.
Go ahead.
So I agree that this is really an issue from being, at the schools. I know of some of the struggles with the school, and I really hate to see the events lose that service, because I too think that's really important. But also understanding the, morale issues. So I don't have any answers, but I'm guessing, because I'm new, I'm, still learning some of this, but there's no way to work with the yellow bus company or anything for alternative. I mean, I know that's private, I guess, so there's really, I guess I'm just, are there any other alternatives outside the box, thinking that in the summer, all of the other school routes won't be going on except for, the summer school. I have no idea. I'm just asking if anyone knows,
Yellow buses for what specifically, I guess?
I don't
confused.
know. I don't know if there's a way to somehow, I'm just thinking transportation, so that the yellow buses are operating during the year. And I just don't know if there's any way to, probably not contract with, but I don't know. I'm just thinking, well, there are drivers from.
Oh, are you
from the
talking
school
about,
bus-
like-
The school buses, sorry.
Okay, are you
Yeah.
talking about getting maybe contracting school bus drivers?
Yeah,
Is that,
I
okay.
don't know if
Okay.
that's even possible, because I understand, with the union and all of that. So I don't know, but I guess it's just really unfortunate to have to see this stuff
Yeah.
there not be transportation. And then also with having had, the last few years of COVID and people not being able to do a lot in it, I think, speaking of just morale and mental health for people in general, some of these events are, I agree, but anyway, so I don't know, but just trying to think of something.
Greg, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Put that on. Okay, great.
Yep. In terms of contracting with private providers, that is not something that we would do easily. If they operate in our shoes, which is what they would do, they would have to follow all the federal regulations that we do. And so it's a fairly complex process that I wouldn't want to go through for a two-day event. There's drug and alcohol testing and so on. And so, and we wouldn't, for liability reasons, we wouldn't have them drive our vehicles. I would venture to guess most are not licensed appropriately to drive our vehicles anyway. What I would suggest is that the events look to the private providers, which is what they did before we got involved.
Go ahead, Gary.
So then, I think the HR issue is something not necessarily for today, but I think so besides the Hmong Festival and the Festival of the Arts, are there other festivals or events that we contract out for? I know there's parades, but I don't know if those are,
No.
well,
It was the Wings Over Wausau was our only other
is
request.
there something in the fall, the parade, the Christmas
No.
parades, we don't get involved with any of that?
Well, we have a vehicle in the parade, but those are volunteers. That's the union that gets involved and to kind of show themselves off.
Right, right.
But it's not, they don't contract with us. Part of the challenge for us is these events, we can only do them if we do them free of charge because of federal contracting regulations, or federal charter regulations. If we accept a payment from a third party, it's considered a charter, and I have to refer them to the private sector. We can't do that. So, there were three events, the three big events, the Art Fest, Chalk Fest it used to be, and it morphed into Wings Over Wausau, and then the Hmong Festival. Those are the three that we've done. And so we had already turned down Wings Over Wausau. We had already discontinued the Chalk Fest because it moved to Stettin.
Mm-hmm.
So we were left with the Hmong Festival and the Art Fest. And so what I'm suggesting is we discontinue the other two.
So do you need a motion on that, or?
Well, did we accept either one of these? I don't believe so, did we?
We had agreed to do the art festival. We had, yes, we had turned down the, I had to go back in the minutes and look too.
Okay.
And we did, we agreed we were going to.
Then we would need a motion to rescind our offer to the Art in the Park Festival of the Arts, if we had agreed. We'll have to rescind that in a motion.
I'll motion.
Okay, we have a
To
motion to
rescind
rescind the use of our transit for the Art in the Park Festival of Arts. Do I have a second?
Second, it's just for this year, correct?
Right, just for this year.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that passes. And yes, Alder Gisselman, I've talked to HR today. We'll have that on next month, transit, to discuss hiring practices. We have discussion and possible action on service requests for Wausau School District Summer Learning Program.
Okay, so Wausau East is going to be a host location for the summer learning program. For most of us, we know that as summer school. And East High School is not on a regular route. We add service to the school on school days only, but there is no regular route. The closest bus stop to East High School is Horace Mann Middle School. And that is a pretty good hike. And the district has requested that we consider running additional service, which would be our X4 express bus that operates between our transit center downtown and East High on school days. Now, we have a printed schedule for X4. It runs on school days, it runs from 6:30 to 8:30, takes a little break, and then it's back and runs most of the rest of the day. That's not what what is being suggested here. It would just be a trip in the morning to the school from the transit center, and then a trip from East High to the transit center in the afternoon. I'm kind of on the fence on this one, to be honest with you. We do have a couple drivers that we will have at our disposal in the summer months. We've got a lot of training that we haven't been able to get to during the regular school year, and other projects that we have slated, but we may be able to, move some people around and run that trip in the morning and trip in the afternoon. It is possible. It is 6 weeks. This is a much more limited request, in my mind, than a weekend. We have people there already. And so I'm putting it out there. It's your decision. If you'd like us to do it, we'll do it. Now, we can only provide service that's open and available to the general public, and it has to be advertised, which means we have to have a printed schedule of some sort, which is what we do on an ongoing basis for our regular service. This would be something over and above that, so we would have to publish a schedule and make it available, not, in a fold-out, elaborate format, but we'd have to come up with a way to, a brochure that we would distribute or whatever, to make sure that the public is aware. Otherwise, it would violate federal requirements. So that's the issue. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Would the Wausau School District consider moving it to Wausau West, which is on a bus route?
I think they already have that as a location. I think they're moving this, my understanding is they're moving this from a different school to east because perhaps construction. or remodeling or something.
At West.
I think West is a host. I think it's John Muir they're moving from. That's my understanding. So I asked about Horace Mann. Can it move to Horace Mann? We have a bus stop there. There's already classes at Horace Mann for the same program. So the answer is no.
Well, if we have staff to do it, I guess we can do that then, provide that service. And then, I don't know how you do the publicity, but minimally, I would trust mostly to the services of the school, I would think.
I'd like to introduce my operations manager, Megan Newman.
Hey, nice to meet
Hi.
you. Staffing, I think that we have what are called extra board drivers. So those drivers fill in for our tripper service, our extra service during the school year. During the summer, they are utilized to cover vacation time for drivers, regular drivers, and then do some of the extra work that Greg was speaking of, painting and washing buses. I believe that we would be able to provide this service. Greg, have you established, is it Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday?
Monday through Thursday.
Okay. So I believe that we would have the staffing to be able to accomplish that.
Then I would agree with the service then.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a question. So you think that it's, the students that would normally be at John Muir will be at Horace Mann?
No, I think the Horace Mann site, the Horace Mann site is already being used, and they're talking about, instead of using John Muir, putting them in
Yeah.
East.
John Muir to East.
Right, they're looking for an
Oh,
alternative.
so because
location.
Horace Mann is full?
Yeah.
Well, correct.
Okay, okay. I'm just thinking because I usually teach summer school, so,
Yeah.
and I'm in the East Building, but, I know we've gone to Horace Mann the last few years, so, okay, I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Greg, will it be a big deal to get this all printed? I mean, do we have to do all new,
No,
programs?
no, it'll be a separate flyer, very minimalist. We'll put it on our schedule holders inside the bus and push it out on Facebook, and, we'll make sure we cover our bases, but it's not going to be all that extensive. We're not going to reprint all of our schedules.
So, one other question, is this part of, that we're giving this extra, we're just making an extra route? We're not, for this, it's not paid, right?
No,
Okay, it's just an extra down from Horace Mann. So are we taking that bus from,
It'll run much like all of our regular routes that start at the transit center, route to the end of the line and back. This one will go from the transit center to East High, which is the end of the line, and back. So it'll function on the same schedule as our other routes. And we do it that way so that kids coming from all over town can transfer.
right? Okay, so it's going to run continuously between 7:45 and 1?
Nope, it is going to run once in the morning,
And once,
perhaps twice.
because I wondered how many kids is what I was thinking for transferring.
We will talk with the program coordinator
Okay.
and see if this means one trip or two. Sometimes we think we know, and we'll have to touch base, and maybe 2 trips for kids is more appropriate than 1. Carol, you may know about that.
Okay.
If they're going to have students from John Muir and then, other students there they may need, I'm just thinking they may need more than one, I would guess. But, yeah.
Do we have a motion? I'm lost.
Well, I guess I'll make that motion to go ahead with that.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. Discussion of possible action on the Transit Development Program, TDP.
Well, I just wanted Dave, since he's here, to give us just a brief update. We are in the middle of our 5-year plan called the Transit Development Program. It is conducted by the Wausau Metropolitan Planning Organization, where Dave is from. Take it away.
Thanks.
Sure.
This is probably more focused towards a couple of the new members on the commission, because I think the rest of the people are quite involved with the process already, even Megan back here. So just to let you guys know, I'm Dave Mack. I'm the director of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. That group is a group made up of the chief elected officials within the Wausau metro area that does transportation planning based on state or federal statutes on population. Your mayor is a member of that commission and sits with us. So the reason why we're involved is because part of that requirements with the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, is that we provide some of the planning functions for the local transit provider within the metro area that we are members of. So that's the reason why we're involved. So every 5 years, we are charged with creating a transit development plan, and we are in the midst of doing that right now. Last summer, we contracted with a firm out of Dayton, Ohio, RLS Associates. They are solely a transit consulting firm. They do transit planning work throughout the country and have been doing so for probably 40 years or so. So they've got a lot of experience. So we've been working with them. They started last fall with doing an analysis of the existing system, and then they got right into doing an onboard ridership survey of the area, sitting on all of the routes and talking to those folks. I don't know if I ever got a number. Trying to look for that this afternoon and missed it. But anyway, we had good response from that survey. Then they went into looking at doing a little peer review of existing systems in the state that we compare to see how we're doing compared to them. Just kind of a normal process of doing a plan like this. Then they went into doing some work with some focus groups that were tailored to specific stakeholders within the community. Met with the Wausau School District, DC Everest, Goodwill Industries, the United Way, the County Health Department, just to name a few of some of the groups that they were talking with, to get an insight as to what those groups are thinking about the system in the Wausau area. Then at the beginning of this year, we started moving into the next phase, which was them looking at some of the alternatives and options for service that we could be looking at. And then as part of that, they went out and did a community-wide public survey that we did online. That was a couple weeks of time in March. We had a very good response from everybody that was involved. We had about 950 responses to that survey, which was quite nice, being just mostly just an online survey. So we got a lot of good information coming from that. And currently they're working on some of the alternatives to the routes that they're looking at. They're trying to come up with some ideas on how we can extend services to other communities within the metro area, most specifically the Weston Rothschild Schofield area and then out to Rib Mountain. Those are the main places where people would like to have additional service. And we've been talking about that kind of service for years now, and trying to get back into some of those areas as well. So what's going on now, the next steps for the plan? On June 3rd, our consultants will be meeting with other business entities within the community. Our consultants are coming to town to sit and meet with them on a big meeting. And then they're going to start moving into some of the recommendations, components of the plan, showing us some of what their alternatives are and coming up with some of those types of things. Probably in the next couple of months, they'll be wrapping that up. to the point where we can be bringing these recommendations and some of the plan draft elements to the public probably by the end of the summer, with the hopes that we have a plan that we can have you take action on sometime in early fall, and see where that goes from there. Any questions at all from anybody? Is that a
Yes,
good
I have
enough-
a question.
Uh-oh. Nope, I shouldn't have
No,
said that.
don't say that. What businesses are they contacting?
I knew you'd ask that. That's Kathy for you.
Well-
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. Unless you've talked with Lori or Laura. Do you know more of who?
Well, I did a little outreach at the Business Expo,
Yeah, okay.
put out a brochure. I'm not sure who they are contacting directly. Honestly, we've had some difficulty getting the business community to participate. David and I have been at this for a while, and that's kind of an ongoing theme over the years. So, they're plugging away. They are trying to get business stakeholders because we think that's a very important piece. And so,
Troy Greenheck, because they called me and said, I had a online meeting with some HR people, and they go, we don't understand, what can we do to get a bus route here? Really? And they said, and I did, and they said, can we partner? So
Yep.
make sure you
Yep.
call them. That was
Okay.
just a week or two ago.
all right, good to know.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've got a list myself that we'll make sure that the consultants have that we know we would like to have talked to.
I'm sure this has already been talked about, but I would think that businesses, especially with the employee shortage, might want to be more involved, given that,
We try.
there might be, employees might rely on that.
Yeah,
So.
we try.
Yeah.
We try. It's not been as accepting as you would think.
Yeah. I mean,
But yes.
I would think it would be in their interest, is what I was
Yeah,
meaning to say.
yeah.
Like, I would hope that they would, but, yeah.
Right. Just wanted to add that we do have an oversight committee locally that's taking care of, working with the consultants. And Madam Chair is on that group with Greg and Kathy and Megan and the mayor and a number of some of the communities that are in the Wausau area, Rib Mountain Weston specifically, and some members from the Metropolitan Planning Organization as well, so,
The Wausau School District is on there too.
correct.
I can't remember his name. though.
Bob
Tess.
Bob
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
So how does the Wausau Transit, so what is their involvement with the final product, with the final study? Because if it involves the Wausau Transit, this would be sort of a metro planning thing and a county thing, but how does Wausau Transit and this committee sort of get involved with
Because
the
we're,
workings of it? I understand, because I get that, because we're the provider, but, so, do we have input? Does the Transit Commission have input into the final product, or how do we see? Because, the final product could be, do this and do that, but
Right.
yet, is that feasible, and what would be the relationship to the metro area? Schofield and Rothschilds, and how they're playing into this also,
Right.
because they're a player, as I see as it's going, I would
Correct.
trust.
correct. Well, first off, yes, it's a document that's being created by the Metropolitan Planning Organization. So it's an area-wide plan focusing on the services provided with the local provider, which is Metro Ride. And so you as a transit commission also have input into this, because it's a joint effort for the most part. The recommendations that would come from the plan will be specific to the Metro Ride system and things that you may have available to you to make decisions on as part of the planning process. As well as the other communities in the metro area, they will be able to look at this document and make decisions on their own as to whether they want to be a part of a system in their community that is part of the Metro Ride system. So it's both entities, yourselves here, the Transit Commission and the Metropolitan Plan Commission, will approve the document. And then
So-
you will have it to do it with what you want to at your disposal.
So what is the role of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, role after, I mean, are they involved, or how do they get involved as the time goes on?
For the most part, it's creating the document. The implementation components of the document will be primarily yours to deal with because you run the system.
Because we would have this.
You run the system, correct.
Okay.
And encouraging the other communities to potentially be involved as well.
Right.
And that's
Encourage it.
where the MPO gets involved, is to potentially make that relationship work between the other communities and your operation.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Right? All right. Any other questions?
See, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
We're up to Transit Director's report.
I just have one update. For those of you who have been on the commission previously, we updated our Public Transit Agency Safety Plan in January. The new surface transportation bill that passed recently requires us to make some updates to our plan. We are to form a safety committee. That was always a requirement, but now it has to be equally divided. 50% of the members have to be appointed by the union. And so we will do that, and we have to develop, if it wasn't developed with their input, it has to be updated with their input. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, if we start from scratch, or this is a starting point. But I just wanted to let you know that there's some changes in the works. So this will be back before you for approval at some point. And that's all I have.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that you, besides the HR discussion next month, anything else you would like us to discuss or put on the agenda?
Like to have on the agenda, an update each month on the plan,
Okay,
on the progress.
okay. Okay,
And I'd like to see an appointment of someone filling the position of Jen that left before the next meeting,
well,
if possible.
if possible. The mayor's working on that. So, and just, it's a process because, okay, because then they have to be appointed and then the city, it has to. Yeah, and the meeting times, it's just, it'll get done. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
And we are adjourned. Thank you. That was painless. Isn't it nice when you don't have to?
It's a lot faster.